but they didn't seem to respond to the flare. And then later that night, it was probably around 2 or 3 in the morning, we saw a shrimp boat come by. And we launched another flare at that boat.
But there's no response. Throughout the night, the men continue their struggle to stay warm, knowing that any movement could attract sharks.
I remember kicking my legs. I'm thinking, what's worse, to stop and freeze to death, or to kick your legs and hope that something down below doesn't see it?
18 hours pass, and by morning, there is a narrow window of improvement in the weather. The search resumes, while Jackie and Mary push the effort even further.
I did call my friend Rich, who is a pilot.
Neil and I, we go diving quite a bit, so I really knew his areas, and I felt that gridding the area like we did, I felt that we were going to find them pretty much the first day, but certainly didn't turn out that way.
By 11 o'clock Sunday morning, another storm grounds the search.
The rain was blowing in a horizontal pattern. It was pounding like bullets against our glass, and all the trees were bent over.
Come Sunday evening, I started to believe that they were no longer in the boat, because if they were, they could have dispatched radio. There were, a couple of things they could have done. They had cell phones, and they hadn't communicated in any form.
After you've been in the water for 30 hours and struggling for survival, you have to be exhausted, dehydrated, hypothermic, and on the verge of hallucinating. Hypothermia slows down the metabolism in the brain. Dehydration changes the ratio of critical electrolytes in the body, and exhaustion circulates lactic acid and just makes you tired and begin to lose the will to carry on.
Sunday night, Bill told a story about him hallucinating.
I was getting thirsty and I really wanted a drink. And in my mind, I was going to work to get a drink of water. I could envision in my head, I wasn't even in the water anymore. I was going to work.
Bill and I especially were having hallucinations. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous buildings, like huge white mansions. You could swear you could walk out of the water and up on the front steps. It was just wonderful.
Neil was probably in the best shape and probably best mentally. He could move around a bit. He still had his fins on, and luckily he could get back to get us when we got into those predicaments in the middle of the night.
The rain gives Lou, Bill, and Neil hope for relief from their intense thirst.
I saw Neil swung around backwards. I said to him, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I'm drinking water." Smart. And then I did it. And then that's the point when I saw my father holding his teeth out, and I couldn't figure out what he was doing. I thought he completely lost it.
My son Bill was behind me, and he looked over at me. He said, "Dad, what are you doing, trying to drive me crazy?" And I said, "No, boy, I'm getting me some water, right?" I offered my teeth, but he wouldn't take them.
The water does little to slake their thirst, while the ocean's turbulence compounds their problems.
You'd be trying to get water, and all of a sudden a wave would come in, and you get them all full of salt water.
If lack of drinking water doesn't kill the men, the salt in the seawater will.
Most people at a baseline level need at least a pint to a quart of water a day to survive. You can't obtain this water by drinking salt water, however, because the sodium content is enormously high. That high sodium content pulls water out of cells and causes all sorts of physiological abnormalities, which can lead up to seizures or cardiac failure.
36 hours at sea. Parched and shivering, the men continue to hope for rescue. For a moment, that hope appears in the form of another boat. The men decide to light their last flare.
The one on the Sunday night passed the closest. It was about probably a mile away. From what I remember, the boat just kept on going.
At this point, Neil started hallucinating too, and that was even scarier because at least he was there before to say to you guys, you're hallucinating.
The last thing that Lou, Neil, and Bill need when they're floating around in the ocean trying to survive is an inability to reason. So if they begin to hallucinate, they may shed clothing inappropriately, they may start to drink seawater, they may try and do things that would actually be harmful instead of helpful for their survival.
By Monday morning, Lou, Bill, and Neil have been adrift more than 40 hours. The air and seaboard search for the capsized boaters resumes, but the men are losing hope.
I was literally praying for my life. Like I was down the end of the rope, and that's what I was doing.
I kept thinking, it's like, if they don't find us real soon, there's going to be at least one or two of these guys coming back and not alive. I was afraid of having to approach their wives and explaining what happened out there.
That stuck in my mind so much the whole time. There is no reason to believe that they are dead until I see a body.
Searchers, knowing that time is running out, must once again battle difficult weather.
When we took off on Monday, we were just getting slammed everywhere. It was a very bumpy ride, and certainly the waves were up because of the wind. We really weren't saying much about it, but you know, you could tell everybody was concerned about it.
At first I couldn't see it. At first I didn't believe it.
The plane seemed to just pop up out of nowhere. We started waving this orange life jacket that the guys had originally pulled out of the boat.
Rich Godoy's search plane passes over the men when one of the spotters notices something.
We hear Shane just kind of give out a burst, you know. It's like, hey, wait, you know, I see them. At that point, the Coast Guard, their large aircraft came in.
And he shot a canister out of the airplane. You're thinking, damn, they're shooting at us, you know, what is this? But it was a canister of smoke.
As Rich circles, he places a long-anticipated call to Anna, Mary, and Jackie.
And he says, he spotted them. There's 3 of them. They're fine.
We just needed to hear, we see 3 of them moving.
46 hours after being capsized, the men are lifted to safety by a Coast Guard helicopter and rushed to Bon Secours Venus Hospital. They are treated for hypothermia and dehydration and released the next day with no long-term consequences to their health.
If it wasn't for our wives, I know at least the other 2 guys wouldn't be here.
Bill is thankful to his father for his role in their incredible tale of survival.
He's always had a positive outlook on everything, and it's probably one of the reasons I'm here today. Like, he straightened me up when that boat flipped over. I was pretty shooken up by it. I didn't think we'd be around very long at that point.
They were sure that we wouldn't be alive when they found us.